Hello, I'm horror cartoonist Dennis St. John. I draw monsters and write twisted tales. As you can imagine, I was a little obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Lucky for me, so were most of my high school friends, all except one. One friend who stubbornly refused to join the Scoobies. So here we are, 20-some-odd years later. I'm teaming up with Doc Travis, John Teach Landis, and maybe a special guest or two. And we're going to make our friend, Michael Poley, watch one episode of Buffy a week until he's no longer the Buffy Virgin. Hey everybody, welcome back to Buffy Virgin. We are discussing season 4, episode 12, A New Man. I'm your host, Dennis St. John. We are joined this time by friend of the series, David the Goof Yoder.
But thanks for having me on. And this is actually a little too hot and heavy for me to wear the whole time. So
he woke up a new man. And then we are joined by our usual cast of good friends. Michael the Virgin Poley.
Hi, my name is Michael. I've only seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer up to season 4, episode 12, A New Man.
John, abandoning us for Europe, Landis.
That's right. I'm really excited to discuss New Man with a bunch of old men.
Damn.
And our resident surgeon, Dr. Trav, sharp as a scalpel.
Hey, it's Travis. And to be fair, John isn't going, he may be going to Europe. He's not going to the Eurozone.
are you going to go see the Watchers Council? Go track them down?
He's
Yes,
going to join.
We're going to go to the Watchers Council retreat. We're going to do some kayaking.
With Moors.
Dartmoor is wonderful. I've been to Dartmoor 2 times. It's great.
Is it 3 or 2?
I think 2.
The story's not adding up.
Did the
Sounds
Watcher
fishy.
Council have a location? Do we know where in England they're located?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I mean,
We
we
will
assume,
definitely task John with tracking it down. That
yeah.
is-
I want to find out where
No.
Sherwood Forest is, where the real one is, where Robin Hood lives, and then also where the Watcher Council is.
I like how you say where Robin Hood lives, like he's still alive and still doing his deeds out there.
You know, that immortal bandit?
I am
It's like
pretty
Santa
sure
Claus.
Sherwood's a real place.
I thought it was a myth.
I want to know where
You were
King's Quest takes
mistaken.
place. I want to know where Robin Hood is.
All right. So before we get into the episode, let's dive into reactions.
Audience reactions.
So we have a lot this week because we're actually going to cover the reactions to Something Blue and Hush. But we're going to start with a nice iTunes review we just got. So this is by There's No Fucking Names Open. Good name. It says, this is my favorite buddy podcast because of the side stories. So thank you. It's incredibly interesting to see 4 guys who are so different have similar backgrounds. And also the rapping. So that's you, Mike. Although everyone but Dennis is too soft on virgin predictions. And it definitely hurt when John compared Pittsburgh to Cleveland in The Wish. I'll remember that one, John.
Yeah. Wow, that's somebody who really listens to this. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a deep comment. I love that, man. It's awesome.
Do you know what they were talking about with the Pittsburgh to Cleveland reference?
I don't remember saying that, but it sounds like something I would say. Pittsburgh and Cleveland are rivals because they are cities that have a very similar feel and are of similar sizes and similar. I don't know. They feel similar to me anyway. It's kind of a narcissism of small differences that keeps them apart.
You're definitely not healing this.
I think he probably would have said something like, a ton of people were going to die in Cleveland anyway, so it doesn't matter Buffy went there. That's
right.
There's something negative, but I like Cleveland.
All right, to the transcripts on that one.
Yeah, I like them both, by the way. I mean that I like those.
Cleveland rocks. Pittsburgh, I don't know.
John is even more attractive in Cleveland.
Anyway.
Okay, now moving on to Something Blue, which we got mostly positive feedback from. So at Dingo Action says, I agree with Dennis about the Hoffren, one of my favorite occasional characters, and Andy Umberg has the Whedon hat trick. And then I asked him to explain what that was. He said, sure, it's a rare distinction. 4 actors have appeared in Buffy, Angel, and Firefly. Umberg, Carlos Jacat, Michael Nagy, and Jonathan Woodward. And then he names the episodes, but I won't name them. And then Renee at Ren and Oz says, "You guys, that's summary. You guys." Yeah, Mike really fucking stepped it up with this summary.
Oh, the Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
all need
just
to release that as a standalone video.
Yes.
I just listened to that. Did you guys listen to it live? Because Dennis's reaction almost did not seem shocking enough for like how good that was.
No,
Oh
that
yeah,
was
no, we did not have that when we actually recorded.
We didn't have that song for
Yeah.
like another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
I think your reaction, Dennis, was like, "Yeah, music is good."
she also says, "I think this episode is about Willow's propensity to seek shortcuts through her emotional problems. This is a pattern we've seen for some time, but she's now more powerful, so consequences. Also, we have fruit roll-ups in Australia."
Word. I like that.
And then over on YouTube, Silver Spike says, "Spike lips of Spike." A great little episode. There's the where the production really saw how well JM and SMG played off each other. Great dialogue in this, and everybody got some great lines. Can I be blind too? Also note how it's only Spike who notices Willow is still in pain over Oz, showing he can be more empathetic than some. More empathetic than some give him credit for, even though he's unsold. And Shornforce says the song was great. You should sing more. So yeah.
All right. Rap is done. Got it.
And then now we're going to move on to reactions to Hush. And most of these are actually reactions to the reactions to Pangs that we did in Hush. So Ren and Oz says, "Guys, I'm all for accountability / not a proponent of giving things a pass, but to deny context is also unhelpful. The television landscape, reappropriation and general handling of racial sensitivity is light years different from the 90s, and that does matter." And then it goes on. "It's painful for me to acknowledge my formative years as a really long time ago and indicative of large shift in public consciousness, but so it is." And Silver Spike says similarly, quotes, "I believe you, John, with
Yeah, that's right.
To me, the 90s don't feel that long ago. Well, I hate to break it to you, but it is. No free pass, eh? A pity, because in my opinion, it's all about context. Whether you want to acknowledge this or not, TV really was different nearly 20 years ago, and I do think you have to take that into consideration. I mean, you can imagine if you applied your attitude towards I don't know, the treatment of women in Shakespeare plays. Sometimes you have to allow for the era it was created in. Nobody's asking anybody to agree with it, but at least show some understanding of it. That's not giving anything a free pass. Talking of which, and then sends a link to a funny Tumblr video of David Mitchell from Mitchell and Webb and Peep Show as Shakespeare being like, "Yes, I'm sexist, but I come from a time when women were property." Okay, so there's more. Sorry. He's at least 10 times more evil than Loki. This is a Travis quote. No, I get you don't think much of Spike's character, but hell, guys, that's a tad OTT, isn't it? What's OTT?
Over
the
the
top.
top.
Over the top. Oh. Oh, and in case you never saw it, here's the Passion Nerds take on this story. I really do recommend watching this. I did watch it, and it was good. And I might start watching Passion of the Nerds Buffy recaps after we do our episodes because they're good and smart. And Silver Spike also says, and to add to the gentlemen are wonderful creations. At a Buffy convention years back, I saw 2 attendees cosplaying as them. Both of them wore roller skates on their feet, so they seemed to glide through the crowd of attendees. Very effective idea. That does sound cool. Sagov9 says, regarding the kill count, I think there were more than 2 hearts in the jars after the first night, but Giles only knows about 2 of them, as he claims in his presentation. Something like they need 7 and they have at least 2. I'll have to check to be sure, but I believe that is the case. I'm not nitpicking, just trying to be helpful. Love this episode, guys. Edit, I checked, there were 3 hearts in the jars after the first night. Yeah, so we talked about my kill count was wrong, which makes me wonder how often my kill count has been wrong and nobody's ever challenged me.
Does that mean we subtract a point from Dennis?
Yeah, I'm at 69. All right. So, yeah, that is summary for. That is review for. Or what is this?
Reactions.
Called reaction.
Another point.
You're losing all the host points, Dennis.
I'm a bad host. Speaking of bad host, let's move on to my summary.
The summary.
It's Buffy's birthday. Remember that time she had a surprise party, and then there was a hand in a box and her boyfriend became evil? Or next birthday, when her trusted paternal figure drugged her and a vampire kidnapped her mom? Yeah, let's throw another surprise party for Buffy. Sounds like a great idea. Weirdly, nothing goes wrong, except Giles' feelings get a little hurt, and he gets to meet Buffy's new beau, Riley. Buffy and Walsh meet not as professor and student, but as military demon project manager and slayer. Spike, apparently no longer a hostage, moves out of Xander's. Giles is having a hard time. He meets Professor Walsh, and they do not get along. Then he runs into his old Chaos pal, the poor man's Sting, Ethan Rayne. Instead of playing another round of Kick the Rain, the two old sorcerers share a brew or two. Giles wakes up with a pounding headache and a demon body. He decides to run around town scaring people. It looks like fun. Spike is out measuring crypts and runs into Demon Giles. They team up and become best friends. Team Spike/Giles, Spiles, and Team Buffy/Riley, Biley, both are on the hunt for Rain. Spiles gets to Rain first because they were not slowed down by any crisis in masculinity. Demon Giles almost murders Rain before Biley shows up, and Buffy stabs Giles in the heart. But it's okay, for some reason. Buffy looks deeply into the soulful, demon-y eyes of her absentee father figure and forces Rain to change him back. Riley Guantanamo Bay's Rain, gulp, and all's well that ends well. Well, Giles is a little more suspicious of Riley and the initiative, and Riley still, for some reason, thinks he could take Buffy in a fight.
Yay.
Nice.
Guantanamo Bay's him. Oh, man. Love it.
Love that summary couldn't have existed the time this aired. In real time. This is a good reason to do this 20 years later.
Context is key. Sorry, Keaton is key. I forgot. Let's move on to great lines. John, why don't you throw one out?
I loved Ethan Rayne. You know, demons. It's all exaggeration in blank verse.
I really liked from Walsh. We thought you were a myth. Well, you were a myth taken.
Yep.
And I've actually quoted this one on the podcast before. Turns out I suddenly find myself needing to know the plural of apocalypse. Yoder, why don't you go?
That's a super famous quote.
Yeah.
Every Buffy fan says that one. It's amazing.
I had a couple when Spike and Demon Giles are in the car. Spike says, picked up a tail. And Giles says, yes, just a little one. Hurts a little when I sit. And then at the end with not Ripper, I am
Rain or Giles?
Rain, yeah, he gets caught and he says, I really have to learn to do the damage and get out of town. It's the stay and gloat that gets me every time.
A lot of self-awareness in that moment from him.
When Giles is in the crypt, says, who am I kidding? Nothing's going to happen, walks off. And then Ethan Rayne appears. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. And then, in fact, old Rip Ride says something rather interesting was about to, and then Giles comes back. And that is hilarious. Catching him in the middle of his ominous speech.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good trope subversion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is this episode was it more fan fiction-y than Something Blue? This episode is so insanely weird.
I don't know. I think Something Blue is definitely feeding the.
Yeah.
Is there just a fan fiction-y vibe to season 4 Buffy? Where, they don't have a big arcing story to fit everything into, and because it's 90s TV, you don't have to continue the story over multiple episodes. So everything's hey, you write one, and then they're I don't know how the show gets approved. Joss Whedon's sure, that one's good, and that, yep, great.
I think there's also just a difference of a show being in its 4th season. That means okay, we've done a lot of these types of stories, or they've covered a lot of ground already, and so now it's okay, what's a crazy idea we had in the hat but we never really took as a valid thing to do. Now we can do it.
Yeah.
Let's turn Giles into a demon.
I would love to hear the origins of some of these ideas. If it's like, oh, we're kicking it around, or if like we literally saw this on a message board and stole it.
All right. Kill count.
The kill count.
There are 0 deaths this week. This is a death-free week.
Is that a first?
No, it's not. Although I looked
Yeah.
I looked in the Buffy stat book.
Yeah.
They say there's 15 episodes in which no one dies. Although they list some that I listed deaths because I don't always agree with the stat book.
Right.
But according to them, season 4 has the highest episode count without deaths. The most episodes that don't have deaths is in season 4.
I kind of want to question you on this, Dennis, just because Giles kills the railing on his stairs. He kills his phone. He kills his shirt. He kills the door. He kills his car window. So that's like
True.
5 deaths on my count.
Plenty of inanimate objects were killed. All right, let's move on to weird noticings and trivia.
Weird noticings.
John?
I want to point out a Xander sweater. This is the first good Xander sweater in a few episodes. So there's a picture at the bottom of the document.
Scroll.
Xander's sweater, in this case, really looks like he is in some sort of military organization that is trying to be camouflaged with the sky.
Oh my God, it's Space Force.
It's like you're a paratrooper and you don't want to be spotted next to a cloud.
I was going to say he looks like a frontman for like an emo band or something.
I want to say I was inspired to wear this shirt because of Xander and like
Nice.
clothes on this show. Like this shirt I literally just put on just for the podcast. And it's just a whatever. It's like a weird, colorful shirt that felt like something Xander might wear.
It
in
does
his
feel like a
basement.
Xander shirt.
I'll probably wear it again now. I was gonna just wear it for this up.
So at Buffy's birthday party, she's like, well, she's old. She's like 40. And like, did anyone else feel like Giles is hurt in that comment?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was
Ouch.
hurt.
Yeah.
It was painful to watch Giles at that party. And also the later scene at Walsh's office. It's just like so awkward.
It was crazy to me that the party was from Giles's perspective. Like, you think it's going to be about Buffy's surprise party. Very quickly, it's like Giles not enjoying himself. And you're like, what a terrible perspective to show in a party.
Yeah.
The person having the least fun. It's like when the last episode when Willow went to a party and she was also not having fun. It's like when we show to a party, is it always about the person who doesn't want to be there?
Yoder?
Oh, sorry. I just really liked when Giles was cleaning his, I guess it was his bookshelf or something. He's dusting, and then something catches his eye. He puts the feather duster in his mouth, which would be disgusting. And then he like reads something that shocks him, and then it drops out of his mouth because he's mouth agape in shock. It was really good prop work.
Really good prop work.
Gotta award that prop work. You know, are you? I feel like
Write
our
it down for the
usual.
recap, boys. Write it down.
I feel like we haven't had as much prop discussions as we used to. What's that about?
Because maybe there's been no good prop work to discuss, Dennis. Maybe the quality of the prop work has been low.
Mike?
So I have a prediction about this, which, we'll get to in predictions, but up until the moment they meet, it totally seems like Walsh and Giles seem like a hookup, and I probably should have made it. I don't think I have a prediction outstanding about them, but like that moment of like parental figure meets parental figure, like this is gonna happen. Like they're both such know-it-alls, it can't happen. Like it's obnoxious. And like, it's interesting how much Walsh like kind of gets on the defensive a little bit, like with when Giles talks about how like, oh, she's always quoting from your lectures. She's like, like you're like from a book or whatever. She's like, I don't teach from a book, and it's like, okay, you guys maybe are too nerdy for each other, but I still think they should hook up. And I'm not going to use the word hook up, but I do have a prediction about them.
The way they zing each other, it feels like Walsh somehow already knows everything about Giles, like because she's making like specific zings on his like parenting style and stuff. And it's like
No father figure. Yeah.
you have no like. There's no reason to assume that this is like a father figure, right? It's just a librarian.
Yeah, Riley, like, yeah, oh, you're the librarian. Like, no one understands what Giles is in the equation. Like, I love how overconfident and stupid the initiative feels, where they're like, oh, you have sticks? That's cool. And like, yeah, of course they would undermine or like undervalue Giles. Everybody's undervalued except their own selves.
Yeah, it's weird. Like nobody can explain Giles. They're like, he's our high school librarian who we hang out with.
And you know why no one can explain him? Because he should have died in last season. He shouldn't be in this season. He doesn't belong.
I love it. You're picking up my mantle.
Dude, you're so right, though. Like, what is Giles in the season? I mean, we all love Giles. He's a great character, but like, he clearly doesn't have a place if he can't be clearly figured out by this military organization, right? They're like, oh yeah, sorry, you must be retired now. The library's been destroyed. What do you do?
The man of leisure.
He's between
just-
work. He's between
yeah,
gigs.
He's an unemployed librarian that gets hit on the head a lot. That's all.
I love his failed smarty pantsing when he walks into Walsh's office and he's like, "These hallways are quite the labyrinth. I feel like Theseus and the Minotaur in the labyrinth." he wants to come off as smart, but he makes the most basic reference possible.
I don't think that's basic. That's a funny.
That's like 9th grade reading, though.
Oh, what should he be referencing? How could you trick someone to thinking he was smart?
I don't know. I feel like he should have brought out something that would impress a college professor. He should have been like, "This reminds me of Derrida" or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, based on my personal experience, you can't impress a college professor. So
I think his only mistake was saying labyrinth twice. But
I think you should reference the Labyrinth movie.
yeah, I feel like
like Jim
Connelly
Henson's.
being chased by David Bowie.
I think the only way you could come out and like really compliment, like get with Walsh or like not get with, sorry, to like make seem like smart would be to like actually compliment her work or something, like have read her work and say like, oh, I really thought your contributions to psychology, something like that. That'd be like a little insider thing where he thinks she's great, but that might disarm her. Instead, he goes this weird way where he says, oh, Buffy thinks you're great. Like he, completely off the hook.
Well, he already doesn't like her at this point. He decided he didn't like her in the party when Buffy said that she's the smartest person she knows. He immediately didn't like her.
He gets defenses on Willow's behalf because everybody knows Willow is the smartest. Right? How dare you? How dare you say that about your friend?
Yeah, because Willow's in that class too. She doesn't get a mention at all. Oh, Buffy's she's so smart. Yeah. What about Willow?
Sorry, Mike, you got the next comment.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I love this like conversation about how many like demons or otherworldly creatures you've eliminated, and Riley's got his 17 number, which seems like a lot. And like, Buffy, how many demons have you neutralized or whatever? And she's like, like she doesn't say her number. And like, I love this joke, which is clearly about sexual experience. That kind of plays out because like. It totally does, because John's making a face.
I didn't think of that. That's great.
Well, because in the next scene, Riley's like talking about like, I guess I didn't know the plural for apocalypse. Like you must deal with a lot of crazy things. Like, implying how experienced she is and how inexperienced he is, but he's still like, that doesn't follow through. I mean, it does follow throughout the episode. Like he doesn't really change his opinion. He's still.
It's a weird mix of him being impressed, but also being like, but I could still beat you in a fight. When he's like, I'm not even sure I could take you. Like, not even me, the great Riley.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Riley. The answer is obviously you can't take her. Good God.
I like your impression of Riley as the Wizard of Oz. That's excellent.
Even I. How long do you think
the initiative? Not nobody. Not know how.
How long do you think they spent at Walsh's office, though, with Buffy just regaling, like, all the demons that she's killed and, like, all the times she's saved Sunnydale and stuff?
Yeah. I don't
Like
know.
it's
I
just
mean,
like a cutaway.
she obviously gives some detail because she's like, I've faced many apocalypses, but like not all, right?
No, and Walsh isn't
Apocalypse,
impressed
I think.
because Walsh still gives the order for Buffy to stand aside later, right? Like clearly it doesn't compute. It's like, oh, interesting.
Also, yeah. I mean, the whole thing. I think she's like she has totally the wrong idea about what the Slayer is. They all do, obviously, right? But like, she's like trying to compare her to Riley, but like really, she should be compared to like her or something. You know, like she's thinking of Buffy as like a foot soldier, but Buffy's a general. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you have an accreditation from a school and then some other school doesn't recognize the accreditations or whatever. Like it happens all the time when immigrants come to this country. I mean, like they used to come to this country, and like you could have a PhD in mathematics, but it doesn't mean you have a PhD in mathematics from a United States school. So it's like basically nullified. And like she has this amazing, experience, but it might as well never have happened. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting. Well, you didn't do it with guns, so.
We tried using guns.
Or it's seen as like LARPing, and like what Walsh is doing is like actual like military actions, I guess. Like if you would compare those two.
Totally. LARPing versus the military.
Mike, you got the next one.
Oh, I guess so. Just this. I think I did the quote, but it's the funniest moment in the episode when Ethan Rayne gets his ominous like speech as Giles has left the tomb, whatever, where he thinks something's going to go on, and like that is amazing. It plays with that whole trope of like an evil character getting one up on a hero, like observing a scene. I think actually on Angel, there's a bit of this happening where there's a scene when Spike is on the show and he's like watching Angel and like talking, like kind of monologuing about what's going on, and like it gives you a lot of power when you're in a position where you can narrate and talk through what's happening. And like the fact that he's literally doing it and then gets caught is hilarious. Because I think the show has done it both ways. It's done the typical way of having someone kind of monologue through it's like an evil character talking about what they're going to do next, or like if the hero is so wrong. And anyway, it's lovely and it's awesome to invert it. That was a laugh out loud for me. It's very funny.
I think I rewound it and watched it again just because I thought it was so good.
Oh, bugger.
So with this discovery that Giles makes in the book, I forget what it is, some demon prince that's supposed to rise or whatever. Like, did he misread the text, or is it like Willow thinks that it was the initiative's already shown up and taken care of it, or is it that Giles is like vainly just like making up this thing that like he's trying to find his importance again, like to be relevant to the gang and everything?
That's a good question. I don't know.
The episode gives us no answers. Although I would take a key from Ethan Rayne saying like, demons, it's all like that a demon said like, I will be resurrected in 200 years. But like he was really just dying. That's my interpretation. Mike, you got the next one.
Oh yeah, I don't know why Giles gets a beer with Ethan Rayne. That is such a weird cut. And I get that that's like, I mean, it's obviously what happens, and like Ethan Rayne drugs him or whatever he does to demonize Giles, but like that whole scene is so unlikely, and the fact that Giles doesn't want to be there, doesn't trust him the whole time, and like getting super drunk and like talking smack, like it's just no, that's not what happened. I don't believe that's what happened.
It happened.
I'm so annoyed.
I love
by
it.
that.
I mean, I
because
get
it's
what you're
like-
saying, but I do. Yeah, I also love it. There's an emotional truth to it because Giles is feeling sad. He doesn't like Ethan Rayne, but he's his friend from back in the day. He needs to hang out. Like he gets to hang out with his friend who's going to understand what he has to say about feeling washed up.
Also, this show is super aware that there's like Rain Giles / fiction out there.
Oh my God.
I find you quite attractive.
that amazing thing they do with the close up on Giles, and you hear that come from off camera is such a great moment.
He did one drink too early. That was his mistake. Like,
I don't know. To me, it didn't feel that weird because it felt like in a Marvel comic when Doctor Doom and Reed Richards are like, or like Magneto and Charles Xavier are like, well, old friend, let's play a game of chess, and then I'll try to murder you later.
No. Then there's like a world-bending reason for them to do it. There is no reason for Giles to sit down with Ethan. Giles has all the power, and even caught Ethan doing his monologue that he's up to shit. And
I
then,
also totally don't believe when Ethan's like, "Isn't this better than beating me up?" He's like, "Well, I like it better." I was like, "I don't believe that for a second. You love getting beat up by Giles." Like, why else did you turn him into a giant, strong monster?
I don't. So
Yeah.
No, Ritter, don't spank me. No.
So while I agree that it's emotionally true to do this thing, it doesn't like narratively make sense for Giles and Ethan to sit down. Like, it's not deserved. Like, Ethan's the bad guy and has been. They didn't leave on good terms the last time. And like the Halloween mix up or whatever, like everything's kind of a mix up and there's a madcap kind of vibe to stuff. So maybe it's forgivable and you can like, oh, we're actually just old colleagues and whatever. No, he's a fuck up. He's a mess. He's always up to some shit for unknown gain. Like, you don't hang out. Batman and the Joker don't sit down unless something's really fucked up. Like, the universe is in danger, and for whatever reason, Ethan has some magic talisman that they need, and we got to cooperate. Like, the Giles and Spike cooperation totally works for me in this episode, and it's awesome. The Ethan versus, Giles thing doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for, sure, Ethan can trick Giles in some way, and, like, Giles can become a demon, but it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't work, and I was annoyed by it. And like that scene is fun, but it's like, yeah, it's like a fan wrote it. But the Spike Giles thing is marvelous and super well done. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. I was just annoyed by that scene.
Yeah,
Like,
you're allowed to be annoyed.
I would accept any kind of like retcon nonsense to get to that scene where they're at the bar together.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Like, it's lovely, but it doesn't deserve to happen. It's too good. Anyway.
This isn't a wreck or anything, but I just recently watched this movie called The Bride, where Sting plays Dr. Frankenstein, and I watched it right before I watched this, and like that's why I was like, it's the poor man's Sting, because he's like, their behavior is very similar. It's like he's trying to be Sting. That's what made me think about it. It also has Clancy Brown as the Frankenstein monster in that movie. It's pretty good. Sorry. That's totally off topic. I should save that shit.
So while they're getting drinks, Giles does admit that, or acknowledges that he has this propensity for getting knocked on the head, which I just think is very funny because it happens so many times in the universe in the show to have a character like acknowledge it.
I'm surprised he even remembers that happened.
Only when he's really drunk, maybe, does he recall.
So I just wanted to acknowledge the magic spell scene. How about that scene, huh?
I mean, that's a good first date.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do some magic and pluck the petals off of a rose and make it float. Like, that's a good first date.
I like that they're so like into it that they like start holding hands before they even like explain the spell. They're like, we're just gonna hold hands for like 5 seconds and then wait, what?
What was the point of the spell? I like listened to it, but I didn't understand the point of it.
There wasn't
Making
a point.
their minds as one or something.
Okay.
It's just they're testing their compatibility.
It's practice.
Okay. It's like
Don't you practice before you cut somebody open, Doctor?
Practice? Who's got time for practice?
I got my 100 hours. 100,000
I mean, have you ever played a
10,000
fish? I mean,
I know Willow does make a big deal of it later, but like, did you guys notice how over the top, like serious the music was when the rose was like just like thrashing about the room, like out of control? I don't know. It was just like, oh no, it's a rose. What is gonna happen?
Those thorns.
Yeah, that's a really magical first date.
I don't know. Maybe they're just friends. I have no.
it was written really sexually. Like, it was all the phrasing. I was like, oh my gosh.
I don't know. I think Giles's date was sexier than Willow's.
There's a lot of sexy team ups this episode. Let's just leave it at that.
But Giles' date was somewhat sexy. The spell was definitely like sexual.
I had a medical question. Buffy kicked Riley in the chest so hard that he flew across the room. Did his heart explode?
He totally should have died, probably. Maybe Riley's more superhuman than we give him credit for.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'll be okay. It's like, dude.
He was like feeling like his heart. It was like he got kicked.
He got kicked
Right where the heart is.
hard, dog. He got kicked hard.
He just had one lung rupture. That's all. That's all that happened.
So much. It would cause so many problems. That'd be an amazing way the fourth season took a turn. Buffy accidentally murders Riley. The fourth season is covering it up from the initiative.
It's Pat all over again.
It'd be great.
It'd be so amazing.
It'd be great if 3 episodes from now he dies from complications to that kick.
Ooh,
It's just an after a delayed reaction.
You feel okay to drive home? He's like, oh, I feel fine. And on the drive home, he has a cardiac arrest, and he just dies in the car.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
That'd be insane.
Man.
The Buffy reboot can get this correct next time.
Or Riley could be a Deadpool type character, right? Though that can just take whatever damage, right? Maybe that's his special powers, getting beaten up. Because it doesn't seem like he ends up at the victory side of a lot of his battles, you know?
I've
17.
But it wasn't in a row.
Riley totally belongs with Willow and Xander. He's in the B team when there's a problem.
I've actually been watching a lot of Ranma 1/2 recently, and the sparring in that reminds me of this. I don't know why.
I love Ranma 1/2.
Also not a wreck, just a.
No, it's great. It's just it's endless.
But it's the constant sparring and the way they're able to do stuff
over the top damage and getting kicked and punched to fall off roofs.
Yeah. So I thought Anthony Head actually has a really great face for monster makeup. His face is perfect for the Feral Demon. I like that Feral Demon makeup a lot, and I really like the description of its snot powers.
It's sad we don't ever see the mucus.
I know.
Yeah, at the end when
a bad CG flubber kind of.
That's true. We know that Buffy can't do liquids. We've established that.
Oh, when did they fail at liquids?
There was the
goo
zombie goo
from Ethan Rain episode, right?
Yeah, Ethan Rain episode. And then there was another bad liquid.
What about just water in general? If you fall in water, you die, right?
Oh. Well, Buffy knows that more than anyone else. Have there been 4 Ethan Rain appearances? I was trying to get them right. Giles' old friend who came Demon, and then the Halloween episode, and then the Candy episode, and this episode. Am I missing one?
I think you're right.
So I guess I've been on for half of them, I guess. I don't remember. Just have to
David Yoder,
our resident rain expert.
Rain expert.
I should learn to skip town and not stick around and gloat so much. But so is it my turn? Sorry. Yeah, Spike's using a tape measure on a crypt when Giles runs into him in the graveyard. I thought that was a very funny bit, which actually I didn't catch till the second watch through I did. But he mentions it would be okay to kill a demon. And now this is maybe I'm more wanting to ask you, Dennis, might know, but would it be okay for him to drink the demon's blood? Would that have a different adverse effect? And has the show already covered this idea of a vampire draining a demon's blood?
I'm glad you brought this up because I was thinking those same issues. I think he could drink a demon's blood. It probably...
Mike knows the answer to this question from Angel season 1.
What?
I think it probably depends on how close to a human the demon is. The more close to human, the more the blood is compatible, right? This is me in a very non-scientific way trying to guess about the science of demon blood. But if you're not a humanoid demon at all, I don't think the drinking the blood would help. But I bet a demon could sustain himself. I mean, a vampire could sustain himself by drinking demon blood if they were humanoid enough.
Well, it'd be interesting, if he drank Giles as a demon or another. What type of demon is it? The feral or
feral?
If he drank
Spellcheck demon.
If he drank one of those demons' bloods, then maybe he'd get sick as a side effect, and he'd have the bad mucus, and he'd be extra irritable and want to fight people all the time and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's established yet. Well, no, it's kind of established that they get that a vampire can get more strength from drinking Slayer blood, right? So presumably, if you drink a demon stronger than you, you can get stronger.
Yeah, it's Angel season 1, episode 7 or 8. I will remember you. Angel's blood gets mixed in with the demons, and he turns human.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, what you're suggesting totally could happen.
Also,
I
like,
guess-
yeah.
I think I may be trying to make the show too much like iZombie or something. But too. It's like,
I was thinking, like, if Spike was truly evil, like, this would have been his opportunity to just kill, like, a member of of Buffy's team,
oh,
and he
I
doesn't
thought
take
that too. Like, why
He's
is
like-
he not just murdering?
He's just way more into $200 than he is into the killing. Also, what good does it do to measure the outside of a crypt? I would like, you would have to measure the inside. It's insane.
those
And
were
he
just
totally
the pre-measurements.
He totally stole that tape measure from Xander.
It's so clear he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, when he brings up like getting a fridge to keep the blood cold, and he's like, "Oh, not bad." You know, like he's never thought of what's involved in making something good or like getting a good spot to hang out in.
Yeah. He's
Well,
like,
he's always got like his horrible vampire girlfriends. Maybe he makes them take care of it.
I mean, we've
funny-
made fun of Angel for not having his shit together, but like Spike really doesn't have his shit together.
yeah. Remember when when Spike first came into the show and he had like minions, and he even kind of mentions that he used to hire feral demons. Like, he is so not that character anymore. Could like hire people.
That's
Like,
such a more badass Spike. Yeah,
He's fallen on hard times.
yeah.
he's really more at rock. He is just as at rock bottom as Tony Head as Giles.
Yeah, this episode is really about like men hitting their
Rock bottoms.
Their bottom rocks.
bottoms, hitting men's bottoms.
That'd be an amazing episode of Buffy the Vamipre Slayer, season 4, episode Rock Bottom. It's just like,
I would like to see
that'd be amazing.
just a spin-off of like the sitcom version of Giles as a demon hanging out with Spike, trying to be
Yes.
roommates or something. That'd be good.
It's great, yeah, because the messy one looks more human, and the one that's a monster is the clean guy. It's a perfect.
Perfect gag.
There could have been 10 spin-off shows. There's just so much opportunity.
So when Riley gets to Giles's house, he's like, "We monitor 911 calls." And I was like, how does Giles have neighbors who still call the police? Like, the amount of insane, just because they heard some ruckus and one door was broken. I mean,
They're
like,
probably super vigilant after a serial killer like killed somebody next door. They probably call the police like every day.
I was saying they would have to call every day. They're like, there's like a troop of Indians attacking his house today. Or like, we just saw 4 demons beat him up and then run off. And I noticed the police do not show up.
You're right.
What?
Jenny Calendar was found. Her body was found at Giles's place, right? And
Yep.
like, and then also, yeah, the Indian attack was very recent, and there was no 911 call as far as we know.
At least not when the initiative tapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, the initiative didn't show up for that one, right? At all.
Maybe it's new neighbors.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah. They're like freaked out by this thing that everybody else is just used to.
Oh, that poor landlord can't keep a tenant, probably.
High turnover. Yeah.
Right, they're amazed Giles still wants to keep the place.
They're like, amazingly, we didn't write any of this into the lease. Mike, you got the next one.
Sure. Yeah. So when, for whatever reason, they're trying to, Giles and Spike as a team are trying to track down Ethan Rain. It's super funny that Spike interrogating like a waitress because he's like actually seems like a charming, interesting person that's good at getting information from people. And I feel like the Buffy team in general, when they're trying to do interrogation, like handles it more like, tell me this or else or whatever.
Yeah.
And like Spike is just like, oh yeah, an English person like me, but not obviously not as attractive or whatever. Like it's quite a charming, fun scene, and like I like Spike investigating stuff way more than Angel investigating stuff. Like he just has an interesting tone, and it's fun. In this scene, it's fun. I mean, I've seen him also be angry and crazy, but like this feels really good.
I also really like in that scene that Giles is just in the background with a big blanket over his head. It's such a perfect, like, this is Sunnydale moment. It's like, if we just put a big blanket out over you, you can come into the bar and no one will look.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Don't mind my
sorry.
friend. He's insane. You have that.
Spike's like, I was walking around with a blanket a couple weeks ago, so I get it.
Right, Spike's so not judgmental. He like understands the language and stuff. It's such a great. I mean, that whole relationship is wonderful. Giles is like, "Oh, am I going to be able to, project heat beams?" It's not thing.
Yoder.
Oh, I was just perhaps my favorite part of the episode and why I asked to be on this one is I love Demon Giles asking Spike to pull over the car, and then he runs out and terrifies his Walsh, just going rah 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 rah, to like chasing him. Which I imagine he wasn't even speaking English that time. He was just literally going like rah 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 rah, rah like to terrify her. Very funny.
Yeah, that is a great scene. I'm glad you pointed that one out. Mike?
Oh, yeah, I guess we've already talked about this, but it's unclear to me why Riley thinks Buffy needs to stay behind, except, Walsh just kind of ordered it. And, like, that's so many things Riley says in this episode bother me.
Yeah.
That one bothers me a lot.
No, me too. All right. Yoder?
So I'm just confused by, I mean, I get the gag of it, but like as a story moment, Spike is terrible at driving Giles's terrible car. Okay. He's like has trouble with the shifting, but then like he's able to outmaneuver the military Humvees, like doing all the turns around the curves and stuff. And then he gloats and then he crashes the car. What was the point of that? Like, is he is he good at driving? Is he bad at driving? What statement are we making about the car? Like, I know the car is terrible, but like, it just was not consistent to me. Like, it was funny, but
did the car survive? Yeah, it was not consistent. Apparently, I mean, I think it's mostly the initiative sucks, and they can't freaking even tail this crappy car.
Would you say if Spike did more than $300 damage to the car, that Giles should not have to pay him the money that he agreed upon for the escape?
I don't know. I don't know if you want to burn that bridge, though.
He should still get paid. I mean, the reality is it was a cost of the
verbal contract
of the escape. It wasn't Spike's fault.
Yeah, but like
Giles's position put them in danger for the car to get damaged.
Once Giles is a human again, if he doesn't pay Spike, what's Spike going to do about it?
Not work for him again.
He'll take him to Judge Judy or something.
He'll post a Yelp review.
I love the idea of Spike on like Angie's list for.
I did not get the services I was sold.
Out of work, older male librarian.
Do not trust. John, you got this next note.
So in Ethan Rain's hotel room, he had a feast there apparently of a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken and a 6-pack of Virgin Cola. Did you guys know about Virgin Cola?
Didn't know about Virgin Cola.
Apparently, in the 90s, Richard Branson decided he wanted to take on Coke and Pepsi and released Virgin Cola. And it didn't do super well.
Man.
But apparently, you can still get it in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, France, Italy, Japan, Kosovo, Malta, Nigeria, China, Switzerland, and Tunisia. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Wow.
Throw that in there.
I literally had no idea what this note meant. I thought you were making some reference to your podcast name and like you guys were going to brand off and do your own cola or something. I don't know.
That's a good idea. Making your own cola is really difficult. I've looked into it.
I thought it was maybe like the name of a generic cola because I forgot that Virgin was like a company.
Yeah, no, apparently because it's Virgin Cola, like the one thing they were really good at was product placement. So it's in a bunch of TV shows from this era. It's like apparently it's all over Ally McBeal.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God, John! According to Wikipedia, no company has the UK license for Virgin Cola. So
that's right.
This is how you're going to integrate.
Well, I feel like for the show app picture, then you just got to write Buffy Virgin Cola. And
oh yeah, just get stickers that say Buffy and put it on top of the.
Whenever we're in Afghanistan, make sure to do that. Tag them up.
I thought it was just going to be Afghanistan when you were saying it.
Yeah,
that's amazing. But then it was in some other random countries.
So that list must have been in alphabetical order.
Yeah, apparently. Thank you, Wikipedia. That's very organized.
It also, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not though, because China is in the middle of it. Anyway.
Oh, weird.
Oh, China?
It's in alphabetical order except China.
Seems like getting to China would be the big thing. I don't know. Or I guess France.
Biggest market.
China's a big market. Yeah.
Sorry. That's my observation for the day for economics. Get there, you just got to sell in China.
Is there a review of Virgin Cola on YouTube?
I'm certain there is.
While John searches for that, Yoder, why don't you have the next note?
Okay, a fate almost as bad as Virgin Cola. Imagine being almost killed by your own letter opener. And then I'm also wondering, is it just a good thing that Giles didn't have actual silver for his letter opener, that he didn't die this episode?
Yeah, that seemed like such a weird shortcut to me. Oh,
I like
dying
the idea
virgin.
that
There we go.
Giles's like apartment is actually full of fake antiques.
Yeah,
Like that phone was actually one of those like touchstone phones all along. It's just one of those fakey rotary dial looking phones.
Oh man, what is later when he gets a new phone? What does he call it? This genius speaking tube. That was good.
Speaking
Oh
to, yeah.
gosh, it's a wireless phone. Yeah. Giles leveled up. Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised it wasn't real silver. I always felt like that's like a weird cop out ending thing, but I'm glad Giles didn't die, so I'm happy it worked.
Mhm. No, I was amazed that they kind of followed through with that scene and like had Buffy stab him.
Yeah,
And then have like a no shit moment. It's really, as a viewer, I was really shocked the way that played out, and then it was okay. Like he didn't die.
Yeah, you think the thing would be to play it as like she figures it out right before she stabs him, but nope, she stabs him and then figures.
yeah.
It's a good thing that like when they turned him back, he didn't like keep the chest hole. That's
Yeah,
how
it's
magic
true.
works. Like if he like be sad if he turned it back to a human and he just died because he still has a chest wound.
Yeah,
did
you
act
have
like
to
his
wait
chest
for him
hurt. But yeah.
Hey, Riley's fine too. Everybody's fine.
The male chest is just indestructible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's funny. Like looking at, so I'm reading some stuff about the Civil War lately, and like, if you're injured at all, like
You're
in an
gonna die.
extremity, they just remove it. But anything
Oh.
in this chest region, it's just like there was nothing we could do.
Yeah.
It's kind of the medical vibe. But
I get
Buffy's the
why
opposite.
our most recent review said how different we are, because like I just keep bringing up Ranma, and then you're like, I was reading about the Civil War. Like,
Well, I'm at a certain
we have
age.
different.
Not your typical Buffy podcast.
Mike, you got the last line, and
Yeah, so you mentioned this in your summary, of course, that Ethan gets kind of squirreled away to Guantanamo or whatever. I don't like Ethan, but I feel like the holding facility, and even Spike going to this holding facility, like I want these characters dead, apparently. But like going to a detention facility is like scarier and weirder. And
It's-
I'm
I think it speaks to shadiness. It's like this is a
but-
creep organization.
but it's like without trial, without any kind of legal process or due process, we're gonna just take him away now to a detention
Welcome
facility.
to America, Michael.
Yeah, there is that vibe about it. Like, this is the military operates under different rules, of course, and like that's what kind of they're playing into that. But it's just so shocking that that's what happens to Ethan, that like that he's going to be taken away. Like there is this like it feels like if at an end of Scooby-Doo, like an episode of Scooby-Doo or something, we're like, oh, Madcap, blah blah blah. Then like they have one new character that week, like Joe, and Joe's in like the Army Corps of Engineer, I don't know, whatever. Joe, the military guy, and then Joe's like, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of this guy, and like puts him in jail forever, which like will be a hilarious riff in an Adult Swim episode. But here it's just like, shit, that like breaks the show a little bit for me. There's also this military organization where they go like I mean, Batman kind of like gets rid of the villains and drops them off somewhere. They end up in Arkham Asylum, I guess. So just maybe similar. I just it's weird. And then for Buffy to have no power over that, like they can't stop it, it's weird. And so I don't know. It just spoke to what this season is about, which will be about the initiative, and Buffy will get clearance or she won't, whatever. But like that felt really shocking watching it.
Yeah. I also like Giles is suspicious, but Buffy isn't. Buffy's like, well, what a great solution. Like, which I bring up in questions, but it's like, yeah, it feels weird and gross. So
That's her boyfriend, Dennis.
Let's move to questions.
Questions for the group.
Yoder, why don't you go first?
Well, I don't know if I want to ask this question because I don't want to answer it, but I'll ask for the rest of you, I guess. But ever been to a party like Giles where you only know one person or a small group of people, and you feel like you shouldn't have ever gone to the party in the first place?
I've never had a bad party experience in my life.
Yeah, parties are great, right?
I am a party animal. I am always where the fun is.
Oh shit! I just remembered, on the subject of parties, that banner for Buffy's birthday was terrible because it said "Happy Birthday 19th Buffy." It like the placing of the words, like they just did a bad job, and I gotta call it out.
Banner, Michael.
Like you didn't need to throw
Family
that 19. The 19 was such an afterthought. Like it was a different color, even. Like what the? It's like we have to remind the people that she's turning 19. That's all it was. Sorry for that mini rant.
We don't have mini rants on this podcast.
There's a special category for that stuff, I'm sure.
It's called Weird Noticings and Trivia.
Yeah, we just went through that.
I don't know. Side note, we should have a new segment called Mini Rant.
I mean, obviously, yeah, we've all had this experience, I think, going to a party where it's the wrong party. This, of course, as a married person, this happens frequently because you're invited to a party where the spouse knows all the people. Like, my wife does some volunteering. There's sometimes events or fundraising events that I'll go to, and like, I don't know anybody there. I'm constantly trying to get Travis to come to events where he doesn't know people. And he wisely ignores. He goes to zero of those events.
I know zero of those people. I know, I go to the small event, I go to the Thanksgiving, which you're very nice to invite me to, and I know everyone there. Well, except for this year. But the other ones I did.
Well, yeah, and I know it doesn't. You totally feel like you shouldn't have gone when you go to those things, but you have to push through that feeling and be there to support your partner. But that's different than going alone to a thing. I think I've always.
Yeah.
I mean, I rarely go alone, truly alone, to something that I don't belong to.
Oh yeah.
Not anymore.
I do sometimes. I don't know. Got to do it if you're forever single and still want to go to things. You got to just go alone sometimes.
I feel it for you single guys. Yeah, that's a tough feeling. I guess that's why everyone takes social anxiety drugs. They can get over that feeling. Do you ever get in that conversation when you're talking with friends and they reveal what antidepressants they're on and you're shocked? Did it ever happen to you?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about shocked, but.
Okay. Not shocked. But just that you're like, oh, these are way more common. Like, I'm not on any of them, right? I'm an extrovert that does improv, right? So.
I haven't been on the show in a while, but I thought it was Dennis's role to get too real and dark during the show and not your role.
We're at season 4 Michael, though, David. We're at season 4 Michael. The rules are changing right before our eyes.
Are you even a virgin anymore, Michael?
Right. Season 4 Polly is a little bit different.
All right, Mike, you got the next question. I like it.
Oh, sure. Okay, so this is what would you do? You can't speak English and look like a demon. How long before you're killed? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to be killed. Like, what happens?
I think this is another case where, presuming I had the dexterity still to type, I think I could be okay for a while. Like I could work from home.
You just destroyed your keyboard, Dennis.
Yeah, I would say.
The way Giles has crushed things, then I would be fucked. Like if I could control myself to type and just I could work from home from a couple days and like try to get some shit together. I think I could be okay for a little while.
Yeah, I feel like
living in the sewers
with your lifestyle and people expecting you to work from home. You could probably not pick up the phone for like a couple days, right?
Yeah.
But someone's going to come looking, right? And they're going to find a demon in your house. And they're like, oh, this dream came true.
He was kissed by a demon.
I feel like you're in a unique case where people might think it's okay. Like because of your love of demons and monsters, like people might be like, oh, it's Dennis.
Oh, people would go in Dennis's apartment. He would stay perfectly still, and they'd be like, "Wow, look at this great creature that Dennis got!" Like,
that's true. It would probably not stand out around all my like creature stuff.
I think my plan would probably be to see how long I could like not leave the house because I would just be terrified, and then I'd also like imagine like, okay, this will wear off like in a certain amount of time, maybe or something. And then when I would hit my breaking point, I'd probably just like try to hoof it and like make it out into the middle of the wilderness somewhere and eat small rabbits or something. I don't know.
I do think Giles doesn't try everything to communicate because we know from Hush that he has a lot of options. Like, I'd really like to see the Fjarl demon do an overhead presentation.
He went to Xander. I mean, that's
Rock bottom.
Oh, I love it. So it's still asleep. Such a judgmental demon.
It's a great gag that he's speaking demon crazy noises. You don't know it. The audience doesn't know that he's speaking crazy noises.
was that like a slight Back to the Future reference where Xander's like, "Mom, is that you?" Or like when it's Giles in the room. Maybe not. Maybe that's just what I think of.
Then he would be dressed as Darth Vader, right, or something like that. Like, isn't that?
Well, no. There's the recurring joke in Back to the Future where like Michael J. Fox thinks that like, well, like it is his mom, but she's much younger, and the different things.
You're back in good old 1955.
That'd be great if Xander was like, a demon. What happened to my pants?
You're over there. We gotta move on. What's a fishwife?
Calvin. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yes. Who knew the term fishwife? Giles calls Professor Walsh a fishwife.
He not only calls her a fishwife, he also calls her a harridan, which are both extremely sexist and very archaic words. Well, not very archaic, somewhat archaic.
I had to look it up too.
Yeah. Is that where you're gonna the language you're gonna have to get used to living in England?
I actually discussed them both with Harriet. I'm like, Giles calls her a harridan, and she's like, "That's terrible." And I'm like, "You know what a harridan is?" And she's like, "I've read a lot of books."
Maybe that's where Giles picked it up.
He is learned. He knows about Theseus and the Minotaur. Don't mess with him.
And he lives alone.
Hey.
Dang.
I mean, he has Olivia flying over like from another country to sleep with him on the reg, so like I don't feel too bad for him.
All right, so I'd say Buffy seems to be ignoring some major red flags coming from Riley. So have you ever been too smitten at the beginning of a relationship to see the red flags? And yeah, I don't really want to answer that question, but yes.
I feel like the specific question should be, have you ever had a significant other that's really wanted to like beat you up and like wanted to prove that they could beat you up? Like, I can take you.
I've had girlfriends who could, for sure. But that wasn't like important to either of us, I don't think. Also says more about me than them.
Yep. No, can we not answer this one? This is
All right. Yeah. All right.
I will answer this one with a connection, which is that I had a great conversation with my sister about dating online. We were talking about how, like, it's not so much about avoiding the red flags as avoiding the beige flags, like all these signs that someone's just boring. Where it's just like when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really into Coen Brothers movies." It's just like, "Oh, that's a sign you're boring." Not because Coen Brothers movies are bad, but if you're going to identify yourself as that, that's a sign you're probably boring.
Wow. That makes sense. Totally. Like, oh, they're patient and complex. Boring.
Did you guys take me on this podcast just to insult me? Is this what's happening?
Is that what does your dating profile say that, Yoder?
I don't have an active one right now, but it probably would.
My favorite quote recently from someone on my improv team, as it replies to like how boring the Tinder world is, was why is every time I get on Tinder, everyone's a project manager? It's always matching up with them. Anyway, that was dying for a chance to tell you guys that.
All right. That's it for questions. We're going to move on to recommendations.
The summary.
So I was thinking about the idea of like transforming into a monster as the theme I would select from. So I picked Manitou, Attack of the Mushroom People, from 1963. It's directed by Ishiro Honda, who directed a ton of kaiju movies. He's like the original Godzilla director, and he's directed like 60 movies. But yeah, Attack of the Mushroom People, really good. These shipwrecked folks end up on an island with fungus that's growing too much, and it infects. And I also was kind of thinking about that because we never see the snot, but I was picturing it being similar to the fungus that spreads all over. And I'm going to recommend from 1962, John Agar's Hands of Death, which is a guy transforms, I think because of atomic radiation or something, it's been a while since I've seen it, into basically Ben Grimm, the Thing. And it actually came out, I think the movie came out like the same month as the original publication of the original Fantastic Four. So there's no real way of knowing like if there was influence there, but he looks imagine like the Thing running around, but when he touches you, you melt. So there's a lot of like running around the streets that reminded me also of Giles running around in the streets scaring kids and stuff, and Maggie Walsh. So those were my 2 recs. I'm trying to tone down the recs because I realized I got 7 seasons of a show. I need to do recs for every episode, so I need to like not do 20 an episode. And Yoder, you've recommended one.
Yeah, I hope I didn't recommend this before when I've been on previously, but No Such Thing. It's a Hal Hartley movie from 2001. It's like a very subdued monster movie where it's like this guy, it's basically like Beauty and the Beast kind of in a modern setting, but like as a like low budget indie film that has really weird elements to it. He becomes like kind of a celebrity because like he gets brought into the modern world, but he's like, he really just wants to be alone and drink and like kill random peasants and things. Like that's what he wants his life to be. I don't know. It's also kind of where I see Giles going if he would have stayed in that demon form. Like he would just like isolate himself and like probably drink and get occasional visits from, you know, Rain, Ethan. So
that movie has that insane scene where they have to give her surgery on her spine, but she has to be awake for it.
Yeah.
That scene is like really awful and intense and weird.
Yeah, but Sarah Polley is really good in it.
Yeah, she is.
All right, let's move on to predictions.
Virgin predictions.
Okay, so let's see. As of now, Mike, your score is a 64.1. And let's talk about some predictions you've made in the past. Now, in season 1, episode 11, this is a pretty old one from season 1, you predicted that Buffy will be involved with the U.S. government at some point. Is Buffy involved with the U.S. government?
No.
Okay. Oh, Travis says yes.
She's met with Walsh. I mean,
they're working on getting her security clearance.
Okay, so this is one that we may have to wait on. We'll just wait on this.
They worked with the initiative to illegally and immorally detain Ethan Rayne.
That's a good point.
She worked like adjacent, and the initiative was not happy about her being there. I'd say wait for next episode.
What's the wording? Oh yeah.
All right. We'll
I think this one deserves to be awarded next episode.
Okay.
Awarded.
Or rejected, right?
I mean, is it clearly a U.S. like organization? I mean, obviously they're in the United States, but like a U.S. military.
Well, that's an interesting point.
Because I was saying U.S. government because of the X-Files-y bullshit that happened in season 1,
right?
Where the Invisible Girl gets taken off to a secret spy school to become an assassin.
Yeah,
it's like, they have to reckon with X-Files being a thing, and they're going to do a governmental.
Well, Finn is called Colonel Finn. I mean, Riley is called Colonel Finn, and they mentioned security clearance, so that made me think it's real military. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, here's some less ambiguous ones. In season 3, episode 6, Mike predicted Ethan Rayne will return.
Yeah,
that happened. Mike also predicted that Ethan Rayne will return in a universe inversion episode. Is this a universe inversion episode? I think it's not. I think this is a Giles inversion episode, but I don't think it's a universe inversion episode. I say it's a no.
Yeah, I think John's right. That it's a no.
You're just being harsh because you were told that you were too weak.
Okay.
No.
Giles will not have long-term effects from being knocked out repeatedly. Is knowing that you've been knocked out repeatedly an effect of being knocked out repeatedly?
This we can't say yes or no yet.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave that one alone. Okay. And Ethan Rayne will be in season 4, which he was. So that was two confirmations and a denial.
I have a question. Is there an older one about, I think there's an outstanding one about the gang finding a new hangout, a new hideout or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like we should discuss if we think, because I don't think we've ever acknowledged like that now Giles's house is their
okay.
Hangout.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, that's the one that I never knew when to bring up exactly. We can talk about that now. Yeah, so season 4, episode 0, there will be a new hideout off campus. Do you guys think that Giles's place has become their hideout?
I think so.
I'd buy that. Travis,
I mean, it's where the books live.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead. Let's see, Yoder, do you have any objections to confirming that they have a new hideout off campus now?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, that's a confirmation for Mike then.
Wow, Dennis, thank you for pulling out that point. I didn't even know that could be made.
However, if we're going to confirm that one,
Oh, no.
then I think we have to deny the one that says the gang will make the abandoned frat house their hideout.
Damn it, that would have been such a good hideout. Why is Xander in the basement? He could be living in this old abandoned frat with a broken ceiling, broken glass ceiling.
Okay. So we have an off-campus hideout. We do not have a frat house hideout. So in that case, Michael, you are now, with all those some confirmations, some denials, you are now at a 63.9.
Oh, I went down. All right. Well, I've got new predictions. These are about physical things, these first ones. Giles's house will not need to be repaired. I think it will already be repaired.
It'll just be magically healed.
Yeah, I think this show doesn't worry about that. That doesn't matter to the show. That Giles' door is missing and shit like that. Giles will get a new car. Maybe that's obvious, but Giles will get a new car and it will be noticed. Walsh and Giles will kiss this season. That's a prediction. I feel like against Giles' better judgment, he can't help himself.
He's just got a thing for maternal figures for Buffy. He's got to hook up with them.
Well, yes. He had to hook up with Joyce, and he's got to hook up with Walsh. And that's going to happen. They'll kiss. They'll kiss. I'm not going to use the word hook up. It's too ambiguous. That's like what parents say about kids. They're just hooking up all the time. And then Spike will buy a fridge for his blood. It's unclear how we'll get power, but he needs to level up his life. I mean, I like that he's on his way to move out now that he understands he can fight demons or whatever. He's getting his own place. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and they're apparently just not concerned about the hostage part of that problem anymore.
Well, they kind of figured out, right? At least by Spike's own admissions that he can fight demons, so he's of use, and he gets pleasure out of it, which they're not bothered by. So he's great. That's all the predictions I have for now, unless there are some prediction requests, but otherwise, that's it.
All right, let's move on to themes and deep stuff.
Deep stuff.
Mike, why don't you start us off? So I mentioned this earlier in Weird Noticings that Buffy's fighting experience is, it feels like it's about her sexual experience versus Riley's fighting experience / sexual experience. If that's true, and I think it is, what do you think the show says about Buffy's sexual experience.
I had never really read it as sexual experience before. I thought it was more general, like all life experience, like or career experience. Like he's an amateur fry cook. She comes from a long line of fry cooks.
I think there is a thing about Riley feeling inadequate, I guess, because he doesn't measure up to her.
That's true.
That the show's definitely making a statement about like, oh, you can't have a couple where the woman is like superior in something than to the man, is like kind of what, maybe not the show's point of view, but Riley's point of view for sure seems to be.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's weird because Riley's he's not like a total misogynist about it. He's just like in this weird half space where he's like, don't get me wrong, I grew up with strong women, but you're too like, or something, you know.
I'm not actually woke.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wants to beat up his girlfriend. That's all.
I mean, I said I was a lesbian, but.
Well, the thing he says at the end is really weird, where he's like, "Oh, I get it. You're really strong. You're like a one-woman demolition crew," and then he says, "I like it," and then he says, "But I'm going to take you down."
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. I mean, I think like, I don't know. Can we get into your one, Dennis? Because I want to talk about that.
All right, let's just combine them.
Yeah. So,
please, I think they're related.
Yeah. Like. It's interesting
to read mine or
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I just say fragile masculinity is the theme. Riley not being confident of his strength around Buffy, Giles being emasculated by Walsh, etc.
I really agree with that. That was I would have written pretty much the same thing if you hadn't got to the document first. I think so. It's interesting. So a lot of the episode is Riley confronting the idea that his girlfriend is more powerful than him or is more capable than him at something he takes pride in, right? Killing monsters is something he thinks he's good at. Buffy's better at it. And with Giles, it's kind of the same thing. He's confronted with a woman who's, at least in the context of this episode, he feels is better than him at what he does. Like he's an intellectual. She's a more intellectual. He is a parental figure to Buffy. She's a better parental figure to Buffy. And so it really hits him where he lives. And I think it's interesting how those two situations kind of play out differently, and how with in the Riley one, we're kind of on Buffy's side, or we see it through Buffy's eyes. And with the Giles one, we see it through Giles's eyes. And Giles doesn't handle it super well, even though we're so on his side.
Yeah.
Like we're so on Giles' side. It's so satisfying when he gets out of the car and scares Professor Walsh away just to like mess with her. Like that is such a great and fun scene. And like when she he goes to her office to like, say hi, and she just humiliates him to like, it feels really gross. And so you really don't like her. But Giles does not handle it well. He calls her a harridan and a fishwife. That's like gross.
Well, I mean, it's like she's clearly could be, at least the show doesn't seem to think so, but like by all of the characteristics and the thoughtfulness that she can offer, like all the leadership, like she should be the better role model for Buffy. Like she's female, she's smart, she's a general of some kind. Like she is the better role model. And like Giles does not measure up objectively does not. And I like that that's like comes out as just male rage. Like,
yeah.
Demon
Although
rage.
I'd say part of like why we don't like Walsh in this episode and stuff is the way she describes things is very military.
Right.
And like it's not it's demeaning Buffy and being like Buffy doesn't have discipline and she doesn't have like all her strength comes from instincts. So I forget what the exact quotes are because I didn't write them down, but it's like stuff that's attacking what Buffy is actually really good at.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not so much like on Giles's behalf that we dislike her as much as it is on Buffy's behalf. I think that's a good point. This connects with like this thing. I'm sure you guys have seen this speech that Joss Whedon gave when he accepted the the Equality Award or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he gives this speech.
Woman of the Year award.
Yeah, he accepts an award as a feminism award essentially, which is a longer conversation that happened. But in this speech, and it's a good speech, it's well written and it's well delivered. It's worth checking out on YouTube if you haven't seen it. One of the things that he's talking about, like why write these like so quote unquote strong women characters, and one of the things that he kind of suggests in the episode is that it's not just about having strong women characters, but that it's about the way that the men surrounding those characters handle it. And he says, I write these characters because of my father. My father and my stepfather had a lot to do with it because they prized wit and resolve in women that they were with above all things. And they were among the rare men who understood that recognizing someone else's power does not diminish their own. So it's an overt sort of project with Whedon's writing to talk about like how men handle powerful women. But it's really interesting to me that the way that this kind of works, one of the things I noticed about how this works is that Buffy can be stronger than Riley, and that can work. But Buffy also has to do a fair amount of negotiating around Riley's ego. Like she has to really work at this to make this work. And she's constantly worried that he's going to freak out because his ego's being bruised. And I feel like that to me, like upon like the second or third watching this time around of this, like that really hit home for me because I feel like that's like, I'm a Riley. Like I totally love, being with strong, powerful, amazing women. And that's, I believe I'm in a relationship with one right now, but I also have a super fragile ego and demand that people are a little bit careful with me.
John. You know who wasn't that way is Angel.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I think it's in the beginning of the first season of Angel. So when he sees Buffy, he makes a comment about like, last time I checked, you're a little stronger than me. Like, it's just like an acknowledged fact. Like, she's the Slayer. She's stronger than vampires.
That has not happened in Michael's timeline.
Oh,
tread lightly.
Then? Okay, sorry.
Episode 18.
Oh shit, man. Okay, sorry. I actually haven't been watching ahead. This is just a blurry mess.
So, and it's just interesting, and Professor Walsh, like again, I think you're right that we have good reasons to like dislike her, but I think one of the reasons that she comes off as a harridan and a fishwife is because she doesn't take any time to massage Giles's ego when she talks to him. She's just like, nope, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah. Which is also how she treats her students.
Yeah, that's how she treats everybody, including Riley and like everybody.
Oh, Lord, help us, college boys in love.
Yeah, I mean, when I said that she like objectively is a better leader, I just mean it objectively. I don't think she's actually a better leader. I think like in some creepy world where you look at people as a series of tables and you compare quality than Giles is as far as like a leader for Buffy.
She's still gainfully employed.
Unemployed former librarian, or
technically she holds down two jobs, just like how Giles held down two jobs. Giles was a librarian by day and a watcher by night, and she's a
and how'd that work out for Giles? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
I know, is the school going to get destroyed? No.
The university, that'd be like a really big monster. It'd be a big monster.
Why can't Walsh just be like the military like general? Why does she have to have the second job?
John, do you think like the statement you made about Joss Whedon's speech, do you think that's why like Giles didn't become a professor at the university and like to be at more of an equal standing with Walsh and like instead he's like at this lower standing by being unemployed and like not being involved directly?
Well, I think at the very least like that, like you don't create drama by leaving people where they are, right? Like we said earlier that it's kind of like Giles has no place in this season, and that's sort of true. But like on another way, like if we had left Giles in the role of unchallenged authority, that wouldn't be drama, right? We have to watch him fall, and like that creates something and some interest.
Is Giles the Xander of last season then for this season? Like he's like has no purpose?
Oh, he was totally Xander this episode.
For that Xander the Zeppo.
Yeah.
Maybe Giles will have like a midlife crisis and he'll get Xander's uncle's car and he'll like be driving that around next time.
This episode is totally Xander or Giles being Xander rather. Where he's and he says a bunch of random sexist stuff. It's perfect. It works.
Yeah, so that's why I'm on, because
that's why he's actually shitty to Xander about sleeping to 10:30 because he's like, I got up.
That means Willow had like a Xander-esque episode a couple episodes ago, right? When like she was like alone and wandering around, going to parties where no one was there. Yeah, Willow's had her like Xander-esque episodes.
Is Xander just
being a loser?
Rock bottom.
Yeah. I mean, Spike's also Xandering it pretty hard.
That's true. How those two live together.
I want to use that in the future now. If someone's down on their luck, be like, man, that guy's Xandering really hard.
Oh man, I'm living on, in somebody else's house, sleeping on a mattress on the floor that was used as padding for somebody else's DJ equipment. I feel like I'm Xandering it pretty hard right now.
I thought last episode we were saying that you were spiking. Or...
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yoder, you got our last theme here.
I mean, if we want to go into it, it's a common thing in TV shows, like keeping secrets. I think that's kind of also a theme for this episode. I think the thing I pulled it out from was when Buffy's talking to Willow about holding back with Riley, and Willow's like, well, you can't do that. But at the same time, she's holding back information about like how she's spending time with Tara. And there's also like Giles is keeping his own secrets about how he's truly feeling about being left out from the group. And, the Initiative and Walsh, they're like just a basket full of secrets. So yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
This episode ended on a cliffhanger. We didn't even talk about it. Not that I want to keep it forever, but
Actually,
I feel like Mike should do.
John and I were
predictions
talking about it.
314.
What's that?
You should do a prediction about 314.
What's behind the door?
Oh, sure. Yeah, John and I were talking about that, how this show like just before we recorded, about how the show never ends in cliffhangers, and that's why we like it. But this one totally does, this episode, where, Walsh goes into a secret room.
That had 314 written on it.
Which is what
Ethan Rain said.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that kind of plot line.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
That's not what's fun about this episode. That's not what's interesting about it, obviously. But yeah, do you want to make a prediction? What's in the 314 room?
And it's not just more demons and monsters. More demons and monsters. That's what I got in 314.
I don't know if the house is going to take that bet.
Okay, she's got Faith in that room. Faith is trapped there. So
It's in the
that's my
hospital.
prediction.
It's in the hospital.
What? She can get out of the hospital and be in the well, you're telling me she's not there, which I appreciate.
Damn it, Travis.
Travis, Dave could be behind
That was a hilarious prediction. That's really great.
Sense.
Actually, that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. The initiative knows about Slayers now.
No, well,
They put Dummy in her bed in the hospital.
they just found out about Slayers this episode. and
Yeah.
Room 314 has existed for a while, so it doesn't.
Oh, maybe
Something
she's
juicy, like
I actually think that would be a cool twist.
juicy demons.
I like that better than what actually is in room 314.
It would be cool if they like.
612
This
West
is-
Avenue.
Yeah.
It's so hard to not just blurt it out when you know what's in that room.
You can't do poker face. Just block the camera.
Okay.
You predicted already the initiative will not capture a werewolf.
No, it's not Oz. That would be so fucked up. It's not Oz. You guys think it's Oz?
That could be the prediction. 314 is not Oz.
I think Oz is off the show. So, I mean, he'll be back
Okay.
to save Willow, whatever. But if they captured Oz, that'd be so sad.
He's on Family Guy.
Okay. So you're telling me it's Oz based on your reactions. That Oz is back there, which is interesting. Okay. And you basically told me that when you're like, oh, werewolf, blah, blah. Okay, so Oz is in that room. And that would be super fucked up. That would be a great choice for the show if Oz is in that room.
Okay. Oz is in room 314. I am adding it to the predictions list.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's the show for this week. David Yoder, where can people find your stuff and what are you up to?
I haven't been up to much of late. I'm Awesome Yoder on Twitter, and I haven't posted a movie review in a long time, but there's a bunch that you can read of past movies at davidanddavid@themovies.wordpress.com.
All right. And at some point, we're going to do another Two Dummies and a Dumb Movie.
I still need to upload 2 that we've recorded. I've just been very lazy and bad. I moved this summer as well, so it's kind of been rough transition.
Yeah, if you like me and Yoder's back and forth, you can listen to us on Two Dummies and a Dumb Movie. You can find me online. I'm at Dennis Comics, DenisComix. That's both my .com, my Twitter, and you can find Buffy Virgin online. We're Buffy Virgin Pod on Twitter, Buffy Virgin on Instagram, BuffyVirgin.com. Please like, subscribe, review. We really appreciate it, and we will discuss your comments at length in episode. So thanks very much, and we will see you in hell.